Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is November 28th, just a little before 6 p.m., and tracking our first chances for a little winter weather. Not a big winter storm by any means here in our neck of the woods, but just kind of wanted to give you guys a quick update, try to answer a few questions, maybe if you had those as well. Again, not a big winter storm by any means, but hey, for some, it's going to be at least the first accumulating snow. Not anticipating big impacts, but look to our north in the pink color here on this map. Those are winter storm warnings really stretching from Chicago almost down to Effingham. Includes places like Champaign and Bloomington and Springfield. And then in the purplish color, those are winter weather advisories. And those winter weather advisories do now encompass places like St. Louis and even now into our neck of the woods. Anywhere from, say, Nashville, Illinois to Mount Vernon, now in a winter weather advisory. These are the areas that, if we see any accumulation occur, primarily on grassy surfaces, this is where it would occur. But you can already see some snow out across parts of Iowa and, say, from Des Moines back over towards Cedar Rapids, now starting to spread into the western part of the state. Davenport, Iowa, Burlington, and then eventually over towards, again, areas from Quincy to Springfield, Bloomington, likely going to see some snow starting to fly over the next few hours. This is just the beginning, though, of the storm system that is pushing our way. What we're actually seeing is a warm front cutting across the area. And that warm front is going to have quite a bit of moisture on it. And that's when we're going to start seeing some of this precipitation fill in, especially as we go into Saturday morning. And again, there is likely a chance that we're going to see some snow flying first thing Saturday morning. So if you're an early riser, you'll probably catch that. I just don't anticipate it to stay snow for the entirety of Saturday. I really think here in Southern Illinois, the warm air is eventually going to win out. So let's try to time everything out here real quickly. Picking this up at about 7 a.m. This green that you see out front, that's just some really what the model's doing is trying to get out ahead of itself. Pay more attention to where the snow is. That's going to be the leading edge of the precipitation on this model. I wish I could kind of get rid of that so it'd make it a little clearer. But you get the idea. So we start seeing some snow move into parts of Southern Illinois, primarily west of I-57. First thing on Saturday morning. This is about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it could be very heavy to start. I was looking over some of the modeling this afternoon and looking through SKUTs, looking for any type of elevated instability, and I'm not seeing that. So I'm not anticipating really anything in the way of thunder or lightning, but just get the idea that there may be some snow, at least for a few hours, first thing Saturday morning, that's really coming down pretty heavy here in our region. So if we're going to see any roads, say impacts on roads, slushy roads developing, it would likely be first thing in the day, really just in the first few hours after sunrise. But notice this is 9 a.m., snow continuing to overspread all of Southern Illinois. And again, there's those little bursts. Notice the little blue, the darker blue color you see there from Sparta to Chester. Those are little pockets of very heavy snowfall. And again, that's what we anticipate, at least on the leading edge of this. Now, as we get closer to the lunchtime hour, and I think this model does a pretty good job of picking up on this, what we're going to start seeing is warm air aloft at first, and then down here at the ground level, helping to warm temperatures enough that we're going to start seeing a transition from snow over to other types of precipitation. I really think there's going to be a brief window where we see snow turn over to some sleet. And that's because the warm air aloft is kind of what we call the nose of the warm air at about 10,000 feet off the ground starts to make its way in. So what we're going to see is snow falling out of the clouds. It melts on the way down, and then it actually hits another area of the atmosphere that's back below freezing. So then it refreezes, and that's what we call sleet or ice pellets, little pings that kind of go off. We may see a brief period of that closer to the lunchtime hour. And then we start seeing the transition to primarily rain across much of Southern Illinois. Notice, though, right along the I-64 corridor, Nashville to Mount Vernon, there's a chance that the snow kind of lingers a little bit longer. And if we have any uncertainty in this forecast, and I think, honestly, I'm pretty confident at where we stand, I think there's some uncertainty along the I-64 corridor, just because there's a chance that we don't see this entirely turn over to all rain in those areas, at least not until later in the day. But further to the south, if you're in Murfreesboro, Carbondale, I would say even Du Quoin, West Frankfort, Benton, Marion, Harrisburg, El Dorado, and then also say anywhere from Broughton eastward over towards Shawneetown, And then south of that, Anna, Vienna, Cairo, Metropolis, Golconda, Rosiclare, Elizabethtown, all of those areas are going to see a transition over to rain. I'm very confident that we see a transition to rain, and it may come fairly early in the day. It may even come late morning, early afternoon. And then as soon as that happens, any type of slushy roads that have developed will quickly improve. And again, any accumulation that occurs, which would primarily be on grassy surfaces, should melt away very quickly as well. So if you've got some questions, throw them our way. I've got a few more graphics here I'm going to run through with you this morning. Notice as we get later and later in the day, they're finally starting to see some areas along the I-64 corridor change over to all rain as we head into the late afternoon and early evening hours on Saturday. One of the things that we haven't really talked about, I have a hard time doing this sometimes just over social media, so I thought maybe this was a good time to bring it up. We like to look at maps that go, west to east. That's where a lot of our weather comes from. However, we also like to look vertically in the sky. And this is one of the things that we use. It's called a skew T. But one of the reasons I think that models might be underdoing the amount of snow, or at least changing it over to rain a little too quickly, is notice right there where I've circled, you've got the dew point to your left and you've got the temperature to your right. And the blue line in the middle is the wet bulb. So as snow starts to fall, we're going to see evaporation occur, and it's going to cool the atmosphere. And I don't think the models are picking up on that really well. And that's where the difference is between, say, just a model and still some human interaction there as well. But as far as our forecast goes, I haven't really changed this throughout the day today. Pretty confident in how this is going to play out. Again, 1 to 2 inches primarily on some grassy surfaces. In some of our north and western counties, I've generally put a line from about Chester to Pinckneyville to Mount Vernon, maybe a little south of that where we see 1 to 2 inches on grass. There is a chance we could see an isolated 2 to 3 inches on grass, but again, I think overall that's going to be very slim pickings for here. Further to the south of that, look at that, dusting to maybe 1 inch on grass, and for some that may even be a stretch, especially south of Route 13. It could be a challenge to even get a dusting. So again, not a big winter weather event for us, but it's the biggest travel weekend of the year. I know there's a lot of people maybe trying to get in some early Christmas shopping. Maybe you missed out today on Black Friday, but you're going to head out to one of the small businesses, which we've got plenty of those that support this page. Of course, you may want to just keep an eye on the weather, as I do anticipate that, especially in some rural areas, untreated surfaces could become slushy at times, especially along and north of Route 13. However, further to the south, I don't anticipate that, and I do think that overall treated surfaces are not going to be a big problem here in our region. And asking about snow in Harrisburg, well, there's the forecast, dusting to 1 inch about or so on grass. Again, road impacts should be fairly minimal across most of our area. The one thing to keep in mind if you're doing any traveling on Saturday, if you are heading northward, if you are heading towards Champaign or Peoria, Chicago or Moline or Rockford or anywhere further to the north, maybe you're traveling up I-57 planning to visit some family tomorrow, the snow will get much heavier and much deeper very quickly going to the north, especially north of Effingham. That's when we do anticipate some areas to start getting maybe more than 6 inches of snowfall. And even though they handle snow a lot better across the northern part of the state than down here, we do anticipate some fairly significant travel disruptions out across the northern tier of Illinois. So that is something to keep in mind. All right, so as far as timing goes, I'm thinking some snow starts to make its way across the Mississippi River, likely anywhere from 5 to 7 a.m. or so, and then overspreading the area. For much of southern Illinois, I do anticipate that we are going to be seeing snow start to really transition by around noon, 1, 2 o'clock or so into the afternoon. Some minor travel impacts, sure, it's possible first thing in the morning, but not anticipating big problems. And then eventually we are going to start seeing that changeover to some rain on Saturday afternoon. Got some questions coming in, Grace. Appreciate I'm just confused. Well, I appreciate that. Shawnee Hills Glamping Retreat. Hey, guys, I'm actually going to get to the next week's system here in just a minute because I know there's a lot of folks asking about that. But I do want to give a quick shout out to, of course, our sponsors on these videos. And for these weekly videos, this one's a little different because this one is live right now, but that is Clark Mix on Site Concrete, and that should be loading for me. There we go. Clark Mix on Site Concrete in Marion. We appreciate all of our sponsors. Of course, Small Business Saturday coming up tomorrow, and almost every business that supports us right here at Nick Hausen Weather is a small business, but appreciate Clark Mix on Site Concrete for sponsoring these weather videos. Couldn't do it without them. So, all right, temperature-wise, behind this system. So look at those temperatures on Saturday. We might climb in the low 40s late in the day Saturday as the system moves through, but then we really start seeing a drop. And that sets the stage for that next storm system to come in because, well, while this one we're talking about a transition from rain or from snow to rain, I think the next one is going to be a little different. We can get this to work for us here. All this loaded up for us here. And this next one is going to bring slightly better chances that it is going to be mostly snow here in our region. So that's something to keep in mind. Here we go. All right. So let's pick this up. This is Monday morning. I still think that, again, it's going to be cold. Big area of Canadian high pressure coming in from the north and northwest. A little early in the season for us to be talking about these huge Canadian highs like this, but here we are as we head into the first few days of December. There is a storm system, that area of low pressure is going to pass to our south. So that is going to be a little more favorable to bring some winter weather into our area. Right now, there's still some questions on how much moisture we're going to get. Cold air is very dry air. So despite having the cold air in place, it can be challenging to start seeing some of the snow with this because, well, you just kind of squeeze out all the moisture because that cold air is very dry. But as we head into Monday night, this is into early Tuesday morning. Notice we've got some light snow moving through the area. That's the blue there. You get further into Kentucky, the Boot Hill, Missouri, we might see more of a mixture of some sleet, maybe even some freezing and rain in a few areas. And again, we're still quite a ways out on this one, so there's going to likely be some tweaks on the forecast and likely some changes as we get a little closer. But again, I just wanted to give you a quick heads up this afternoon. And there you go. Light snow in and out of here pretty quickly Tuesday morning. Snowfall amounts should be fairly low. More high pressure builds in behind, so clears that out very quickly. So as far as the snow amounts themselves go, we are looking at probably, again, this is now Monday night into Tuesday, so this is not Saturday system, but about a 40 to, we'll say about a 50% chance right now. I hate the 50% chance because it could go either way, but we'll go ahead and say maybe about a 50-60% chance that we're probably going to see at least an inch of snow out of this next system. And not anticipating a big winter storm by any means, but I won't be surprised if we end up with some light snow, possibly even some school closings in a few areas, just because it's going to be cold enough to snow and cold enough to cause some issues. All right, going to the questions again. After the switch to rain, do we have Jessica asking how much rain we're expecting? Not a big rainmaker for us on Saturday. For many, it's probably going to be anywhere from a quarter to a half an inch of rainfall. Alan, great to hear from you. As far as untreated asphalt parking lots, I think it's possible on Saturday morning, at least for the first few hours of the day, but then that should fade away pretty quickly. Looking ahead then to Monday and then Tuesday, I think if we see some light snow falling, yeah, untreated surfaces are probably going to be a problem in a few spots just because, well, it's going to be cold enough. We're talking mornings likely in the 20s, so the ground is going to freeze pretty hard fairly quickly. Jonathan, again, I just answered that one about the rainfall amounts for many, at least in southern Illinois, over the next, say, 36 hours, anywhere from a quarter to a half an inch. So not a big rainmaker, not a big snowmaker for us. Honestly, just not a big storm system for us here in the area. Will the next storm system be more impactful? I think it has a chance to be more impactful here in our neck of the woods just because it's going to be cold. I think there's going to be a chance that we see a little more snow actually stick than what we're going to see tomorrow. But again, still not anticipating a big winter storm by that means. But hey, light snow events, when the ground's really cold, we can end up with some pretty big problems as a result of that, especially on roads, especially in rural areas. And of course, that can also lead to schools and things like that being closed. So it is something to watch as we get into Monday night and Tuesday. Again, something we will keep an eye on. Leslie asking about a recap for tomorrow. Yeah, we can do that real quick. Let me get that all reset back here. We can do that as well. Just wanted to kind of give you guys all a heads up this afternoon. Had a little bit of time on my hands and hanging out with the family the last couple of days and kind of tracking some of this winter weather as well. So again, going through tomorrow, just kind of forgive the front end of this is showing up as rain. I really think we need to be focused. This is what we're watching here. This is probably just going to be some dry air getting picked up by the radar. There's the snow moving in 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, overspreading southern Illinois. Some pockets of heavy snow at times, but then as we get into the early afternoon, this is noon. That's when we start seeing that transition potentially to some sleet first, and then changing over to rain as we get later and later in the day. The one exception could be in some of our northern counties, right along the I-64 corridor. It's going to take a little bit longer in those areas to switch over. So if you missed the forecast, here it is. 1 to 2 inches on Grass, Chester, Pinckneyville, Mount Vernon, westward, say Redbud, over towards, I would even include Tamaroa in there, and Nashville, Illinois. As you get further and further to the north, the heavier the snow is going to be. For much of our region, though, dusting to an inch or so, primarily on grass, not anticipating big impacts on roads, but we could see some slushy roads develop in a few locations, and running then, of course, the rest of the state as well. North of that, Champaign, especially northward, that's some big-time snow up there. Anywhere from Champaign to Chicago, if you're traveling northward, it could be very, very heavy. Jonathan, no severe weather. Nope, no, not anticipating any severe weather. We're kind of in between. Severe weather, to our south. We're close enough to the snow line. It's just going to be too cold for anything like that here in our region. So again, just not a big winter storm for us. Something to keep an eye on, but another system there as we head into Monday night and Tuesday. But, and I'll run through that again real fast in case you're just joining us, but just not anticipating a big winter storm. I was just looking at rainfall totals there. Let's go back to what I had here just a minute ago for you, though. Pull this back up. All right, so there's our system for tomorrow. Moves on through. We are dry Sunday and into Monday. Most of the daylight hours on Monday are dry, but Monday night, there's our next storm system pushing through. And especially into Monday night and Tuesday morning, some very light snow possible across parts of southern Illinois. Temperatures, though, very cold. So right now, looking like this is primarily going to be snow in southern Illinois. So again, could see some, at least some travel issues. That is still on the table, I think, for Monday night and into Tuesday. Asking about traveling to St. Louis on Monday. It'll get bad up there. They're going to see more snow than we do. I don't think you're going to have too many problems by Monday, especially if you're on main roads and main highways. If you're traveling I-64 or something like that to get over to St. Louis, I don't anticipate that you'll still be dealing with any types of issues there. How much accumulation for tomorrow morning on parking lots and roads? I think it's going to be very minimal at this point. The rate of fall, just how quickly it comes down first thing in the morning, we could see some slush develop in a few spots, especially where we see some of those heavier snow showers push, and I really think that's going to be the Randolph, Perry, Franklin, Jefferson, Hamilton County areas. But that's really all I'm expecting. Otherwise, I really do anticipate that overall we're not going to see big impacts on Saturday morning. Of course, you can track all of this. I've been updating the Nick Hausen weather app. I appreciate all your support. You can download that for free on the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. We'll have some more updates as we get get some snow flying in here first thing tomorrow morning, right here on Facebook and on YouTube as well. You can always follow us and follow along. So appreciate you guys all joining me this evening.